Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of this mega review that I'm doing here with several IEMs that I've kind of held on to for way too long. So now I've decided to just put them all together, review them all at once, but divide them up into parts so it doesn't get overwhelming. In this particular video, I'm talking about the Myer Audio Sliivo and CKLVX IEMs. I've got here the Myer Audio, the Sliivo SL41 Mark II, the SLA3, and the CK2V. The CK2V I've already reviewed. This is a tribrid. It's a 1+4+2 microplanars at about $190. The SLA3 is a 1+3 priced at about $105, and the SL41 Mark II is a 1+4 priced at about $170. So 3 price points, all under $200. That's the main thing. Three different price points, but very similar in their overall or bass configuration and overall tuning style. They all have the peculiarity of tucking at 200 Hz, so it's got a tuck style of bass instead of a gliding style of bass, and then they all have peaks at 2.5, 5, and 8K. The 8K is very much a couple of related peak. But those peaks happen always at the same points, and then they all have different levels of energy in that, let's say, 1.5 to 10K area. They all have different levels of energy for that part of the spectrum. And of course, then the difference, the main difference is past 10K, where there's more or less extension. That energy level and that extension that exists then, and how it's then matched with the bass that's coming from behind, so the performance that comes up to 1K then dictates 3 different tunings or overall or tonalities. But it's actually quite interesting to see how 3 IEMs which have got a very similar approach, how can in terms of hardware can sound just that little extra little bit different just by energy levels being changed slightly, or the addition or subtraction of a component. Anyway, let's get into this so it doesn't again become too long-winded. SL41 Mark II, 1+4, like I said, $170. It follows on the SL41, which had a similar style of tuning, but everything way more subdued. Compared to the D41, people found the SL41 to be a little bit too tame, too boring, let's put it that way, and maybe because of that it didn't have the success that it could have had. So Myer already decided to give everything a little bit more energy. And I can say this, that it has worked. That extra energy has worked, although I like both of them. I like both the Mark I and the Mark II. I think both of them are very good IEMs, very well tuned, obviously for different crowds of people. Of the two, the one will probably appeal the most to most people will be the Mark II, because of that extra energy that's been given to everything, because the bass tuning is almost identical. The SL3 is in essence basically an SL41 Mark II without an extra BA up top, and that means that it's got a little bit less energy in the top end. And that less energy in the top end then confers the overall tonality just a little bit extra more warmness, and it can in occasions or can on occasion sound a little bit extra warmer than the SL41, and as well the SLA3 can come across a little bit more coherent in that area there of, let's say, 150 to 350 Hertz, where there's that tuck and where you might maybe lose a little bit of that mid-bass impact. Somehow this one seems to just come across a little bit more well executed there. But it all has to do with the overall perception that you get of the sound. As for the CK2V, and in my review I said it, I think the CK2V is one of the best IEMs that you can probably buy at under the $200 price bracket. It does what these two do, but more refined, better, less noticeable, those peaks at that specific areas of the frequency, like I mentioned, 2.5 and 5, and then that extension that it has of the microplanars, just confers the overall coherence of the sound. Just absolutely beautiful. Even that part of the mid bass which can be maybe lacking or noticeable, more noticeable on the SL41 is, in my opinion, completely gone in the CK2V. So that CK2V, in my opinion, sounds without question the most balanced of the three. There's no mid bass lacking, nothing. That's my opinion, me listening to the music that I like listening to. Okay, anyway, getting into a little bit more detail. Bass, it's a nice clean bass. It's a completely different the style of sound than the one you get on the D41. The D41 is a more gliding style of bass, where you notice extra more that mid bass impact or presence. But it does have, and in both cases, it does have or the ability to confer in the vocals a very high level or degree of cleanliness. The vocals are super clean, male and female vocal sound, really well done. Nothing to be said there. Right amount of timbre in the voices, be it female or male. Instruments sound realistic in both cases. Honestly, there is very little that I can point as a negative aspect in the mids. In the upper mids to treble, you notice that in my opinion at least, you notice that on occasions the Mark II can sound just a little bit less polished, although it's more because of the fact that it has a little bit extra more energy past 10K than anything else. But this is a real minor nitpick. Overall, I think the biggest distinguishing thing between the Mark II and the SLA3 is you don't notice as much mid bass missing here as you notice here. This one will come across sometimes as more V-shaped, with a hollowness there in that mid bass, that this one somehow comes together in a manner which you don't notice that as much. On top of that, there is, yes, a $65 to $70 price difference here, which is dictated by just one extra BA in the case of the Mark II, which is the one that overall makes the most sense financially, the SLA3. So if you were to ask me, so which one would you choose out of these two? I would be very honest, I would say yes, SLA3 definitely without choice, because the difference that exists sonically is going to be very minimal. The extra little bit amount of detail that you're going to get on the Mark II is only going to be with certain genres of music, and it's that extra detail I don't think compensates the little bit extra perceived mid bass that you get, and so overall the SLA3 is without a doubt the more solid option of these two, as compared to the CK2V. Yes, then that's the logical upgrade in my opinion, and yes, there is enough to justify the $85 price difference here. If you were to ask me, so Tony, between the CK2V and the Mark II, would you buy the Mark II? No, I wouldn't. I mean, I think what you get here in extra detail up top, but also coherence of sound, makes the $20 seem insignificant. So this is the better one to choose between these two. Between these two, this is the option if you cannot afford, let's say, the CK2V, keeping in mind that yes, you will not have the ultimate detail up top. The soundstage is a little bit more closed down as compared to the 2V, imaging a little bit not as precise, detail retrieving not as much. So this is a more detailed version of an SLA3, if you want to put it in more simpler terms. It's got the same sort of bass, same sort of mid bass impact, cleanliness, mids are phenomenal, detail up top is incredible. Like I said, if you start off with this and then you want an upgrade and you like the overall sound here, the CK2V is for me the one that makes the most sense. Just rewinding back a little bit here with regards to how the signature is done and all those peaks that you have. The interesting thing about it is that although you have these peaks, especially in these two models, not so much in the CK2V, that comes a little bit more plateaued above its pin again at 2.5. The interesting thing is, it has those peaks, but somehow you don't notice, for example, the dip that exists between 2.5 and 5K, which is a dip of around 3.5, 4 dBs. You don't notice it as much as you would think when you're actually listening to it. Any possible harshness that 5K peak can again also bring into the equation, not only is there that dip helping to dissolve it, but because of the energy that you also have from the bass, I mean the energy below 100 hertz reaches a peak of about 8 dB. So you have you have close to an 8 dB peak as the bass, as the frequency goes down, the bass increases to a level of 8 dBs from 30 hertz down, which is quite a bit of energy. Yes, it's not something that you will ultimately find in the majority of songs, but it confers that visceral and it confers that more the feeling of movement of air. So you feel that presence of sound. It's something which is not easy to explain. You know, a lot of people sometimes confuse what I'm talking about as that mid-bass impact. No, mid-bass impact is one thing, and it's more centered, like I said, above 60 to about 250, 300 hertz. That's where you get that nice energy, impactful mid-bass impact. But having that physical presence of bass is something which is dictated by the frequencies below 50, 60 hertz. And in that aspect, any one of these three does that part of the spectrum very well. Very well. So you definitely have IMs which are very sub-bass capable, so that physical aspect is very much there. It's then the integration into the mid-bass and into the rest of the frequencies which is differentiated slightly, and that's basically it, guys. I mean, there's really not much more that I can say. You know, in terms of value for money, as I mentioned earlier, definitely the SLA3 is the one that makes sense when compared here to the SL41 Mark II, and as an upgrade, the CK2V is definitely the upgrade for it, as compared to maybe the D41 from CKLVX. How would I rate it? I would probably take this over the D41, especially because the D41, the only thing that it brings a little bit more into this equation is, yes, that extra little bit of detail up top. Yes, it also maybe gives you a perception of a bit more mid-bass impact, but that overall physical aspect of the sound, that physicality to the sound, the SLA3 I think does it in a more correct manner than the D41 does. I mean, this is my personal taste. It's not like it's again a huge difference. Oh no, you've got a D41 and the D41 now is not worth it and you must get rid of it. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the price that the SLA3 is so competitive that it justifies itself very well over the likes of a D41. The case is the same. The cable is a nice cable. I mean, they like I said, CKLVX, Myer audio, much like QE Ears and to a certain extent as well Ziget, but much like QE Ears, they have been able to release models which they hit all the, they tick all the right boxes, and the SLA3 is again a perfect example of that. All right, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Take care.